So long as like alchemy.
NBA Alchemy, episode 16, Thursday, November 15th. Let's get right into these stories, like I always do. I act like I mess around. Sometimes I say little things and little personal tidbits here and there. But let's go right into Jimmy Butler. I'm going to go chronologically from what happened last night. Jimmy Butler's debut with the Philadelphia 76ers in Orlando. Orlando kind of has their number, huh? Right? So Markelle Fultz was bumped out of the starting lineup as suspected. And right away, Joel Embiid just starts bombing threes. Hit like 3 or 4 of them right away. He's familiar with Vooch, and he knows he doesn't want to come out on that three-point line. But I thought the first thing that I noticed was that Joel and Ben weren't really like hypersensitive to getting Butler the ball or getting him touches. He was just there. Like if he was open, they made the basketball play. I thought that was a good sign. Sometimes when you see a new star come to a team, they're like over worried about him getting the ball. Joel gave no fucks, right? He just was doing his thing, launching the three. What would Furkan Korkmaz? The dude that...
Who the fuck is that guy?
He requested a trade, I guess, after, he hasn't been playing, and now Brett Brown's playing him. He's kind of nice. Turkey, 6'7", Turkish, I should say, out of Turkey. I thought he was kind of impressive and very confident and aggressive, some different finishes and stuff. And the core of this, my takeaway from this game is Philadelphia doesn't have enough depth now, right? It was a 2-for-1 trade, Sarge and Covington for Butler. They just don't have enough depth now. Now, Butler looked all right. They saw he was cramping up, or they were working him on the sidelines in the second quarter. 14 points, only shot 1 3-pointer. We talk about the spacing, right? But the depth, I think it was about midway through the second quarter where Brett Brown went small and he tried to put Wilson Chandler at the 5. Not only is Wilson Chandler on the Kelly Clarkson diet, but he ain't going to stay healthy, especially heavy. I know I've been hard on Wilson, and I don't have no vendetta against him except for when he stuck his teeth into David Lee's elbow at Madison Square Garden, caused the infection. But hey, that led to the Draymond Green starting. Anyway, going back in history. But they don't have enough depth, right? You saw Orlando battle back and eventually steal the game. Terrence Ross is a bucket getter. Terrence Ross is, I remember when they drafted him in Toronto, and a lot of people expected him to be kind of a star shooting guard. And it hasn't come together for him. And it's something the announcer said. They're like, man, the game comes so easy to him. I think that's in part maybe why he hasn't developed quite as people expected. It's so easy for him. He hasn't really had to work for it. And then one thing I noticed about Aaron Gordon is he does look better in transition. Handling the ball, you can see the handles are more confident, tighter. He looks really nice in transition. But when he gets a small switched on him, he plays small in the post. He like turns and fades and shrinks. And it got me to thinking like, if him and Ben Simmons could switch posts games, that would be ideal. Because, you don't ever want to shrink in the post, but he kind of plays Gordon. He shoots fadeaways and has some touch, but it's not ideal, especially with the small switch on him. And Simmons is the other way around. He always plays big in there. He has little jump hooks and baby hooks and stuff like that. But AG looked nice. The Magic, Augustine is underrated. I know he's, undersized, but he's underrated. Couple of nice setups in that game. What else in that? I guess that we saw the buyout market last season where they got Ilyasova and they got Bellinelli. I know Elton Brand. Now, here's what came to my mind. I've heard the rumors that if Phoenix buys out Trevor Ariza, he'll wind right back up in in Houston, excuse me. And I got to thinking like, maybe Philly could convince him to go to Philly and be that 4 and that closer at the 4 spot for Philadelphia because they need somebody else. At the end of the game, Muscala was in there. It's just not going to cut it. Muscala and Chandler, they're injury prone and they're just not going to cut it being on the floor at the end of games. The Butler thing, it's going to take some time, right? It just looked like what you thought it would. 14 points, not very efficient, right? But he made some hustle plays. They're going to have to either 2-for-1 trade back Fultz and get 2 players back, and they're going to be heavy on that buyout market, but you just can't really predict what's going to happen. I know they keep bringing up Ariza as a buyout. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Phoenix, they caught San Antonio last night. I'm not saying they're going to make a playoff push, but I think they just need his presence in the locker room for the all 82, considering they already bought out Chandler. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But let me get to the second game here. LeBron James. This is what we expected him to look like, right? This is what we expected. This was the first game where LeBron, to me, looked like LeBron, had some pop in his legs. This is the second time they beat this Portland team. So it wasn't really about, to me, this game wasn't really about Portland not playing well. LeBron went off, right? He passed Kareem all-time scoring, hit like 5 of his first 5 3-pointers, I think. They shot, it was a season high in makes from 3-pointers, but I want to give them credit defensively. I was killing Luke Walton, and it looked like a lost cause but I always prematurely announce people's deaths, but they were more aggressive, right? There was less communication breakdowns, and I think what they're doing is, and how they're handling that is everybody staying aggressive on the perimeter. And early in the season, you'd see one guy, late reacting. Oh, you wanted me to switch? Oh, I was dropping. Now everybody's kind of being aggressive and playing up, and it's making up for a lot of maybe some of these communication breakdowns because they're so young and athletic on the perimeter. They can recover and drop back, but if you drop back, it's harder to recover back out. And so they've kind of switched that around. Sometimes what you do with a young team or a young player who is struggling defensively is you encourage them to be over-aggressive and make mistakes over-aggressively, because if you're timid and you're not, it's just harder to make up, right? So I wanted to credit their defense. Brandon Ingram, here's the thing with BI, and he had a nice game. They're starting him at the 2, and he's a mismatch problem. You saw him go into that mid-elbow post, and working on McCollum and Lillard and whoever he was switched on. And here's the catch is he can guard the position on the other end. He can guard 1s and 2s. So he can really play in the backcourt as a 2 guard. And I like that strategy. I think it generated looks for them, and he was aggressive. He remained aggressive. And it got me to thinking, because I've already been on record, I'm like, Kuzma is the guy. Kuzma is better than Ingram at this point. And I think he is offensively. There's no doubt. If you gave Kuzma Ingram's touches right now, he's going to produce at a higher rate, at an efficient clip. But why they are investing in Ingram over Kuzma is the two-way potential. Because you're already seeing Ingram is a much better defender now and potentially can be an all-defensive type player, right? And so seeing that potential, they're willing to take his lumps offensively, take their lumps with him offensively in hopes that he becomes a two-way type player, where Kuzma, defensively, he just, it's one of those things, he just doesn't have it, right? He doesn't have good instincts, and he doesn't have the physical attributes, the length and lateral quickness that Ingram possesses. So I understand why they're doing that moving forward. Lonzo is addicted to the step back. And the shot's dropping, man. I've never seen a dude who airballs his first shot and then will proceed to hit 2 or 3 in a row. It's like he has to airball. He has to have one really bad miss before he's like, F it, now I'm really going to pump this shit. So it's interesting. But what I've noticed is how he catches his rhythm. He's very comfortable with a step back. Quite a larger step back, which it's fine, but it's not always efficient on the court, and you're not always going to be able to get it off. And so what I'd like to see from him moving forward is to be able to find his rhythm within the catch. You look at the great shooters in this game, Klay Thompson, even look at Lillard and McCollum, and they have an array of moves, but they're also good in tight spaces where they can toe tap, they can 1-foot drag, or they can little bunny hop into a rhythm. And Lonzo doesn't have that rhythm yet. He needs kind of more time to step back and find his long irky-jerky rhythm, but it's going down. And I think that this Rondo, so those of you that don't know, Rondo fractured his hand in this game. And this is nothing. Rondo has been injury prone his whole career, but I think this is a blessing in disguise for the Lakers because of the way Lonzo's playing. And it's going to force Luke to keep Lonzo on the floor, right? I think the next step for Luke in his rotations will be probably less of Lance. Lance I know he's fun to watch, man, but some of the Lance gets confused out there. Someone else will knock down a couple threes, and then Lance will heat check the 3. He's like, hey, they hit a couple, I'm heat checking. It's like, no, Lance, you weren't in rhythm, they were. So I don't know, I know he's fun to watch, but, and also you saw Ty Chandler get chipped up and go to the locker room. He was good. But he needs to stay healthy because you see how important he is for him. And also you have to watch monitor JaVale's usage. I don't know if this is sustainable all the way. He plays so hard. His motor is so high. He's so big that I don't know if it's sustainable to rely on JaVale this long through the whole season. But LeBron came out, looked like LeBron, and carried them to a win. So Laker fans, you got to be optimistic now. You got to be. All right. So this picture here was released today. I'm assuming this is in Houston in the, AT&T Toyota Center, whatever it is down there in Houston. Warriors Houston tonight is a huge game. Not really, it's too early in the season as far as like that. Everybody knows why this is huge. All eyes are on Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. And you see the picture here. And initially I was like, whoo, I was excited. I read the caption, all that. And then I was like, let's not jump to conclusions here. Because we know they had to talk. We don't know what was being said. We don't know if they're even speaking to each other yet. But so they have to face each other. So I don't want to like celebrate, it's squashed and they're going to handle this just because of this picture. It is encouraging. But it got me to thinking about who Draymond Green is. And we can argue about the schematics of the play and how it led to it. Kerr should have called the timeout. KD should have ran the floor. Draymond should have let KD get the rebound. We can argue about that all day. It's subjective. We don't know. There's a whole lot of ifs, ands, and buts, right? But the bottom line is, from what it sounds like, as all this stuff has started to come to light, is Draymond crossed the line. And I don't want to make this team Draymond, team KD. It sounded like Draymond went too far, and even all the other players have acknowledged this. They're not publicly acknowledged this, but everything leads to that. So you think about Draymond, and remember, obviously, 2016, and he openly says, I cost us a championship, right? And now seeing all this swirling, do you think, whether he believes he's right or wrong, does Draymond want to, again, at this point, if we look back and say, this is when it fell apart, does Draymond truly want to be responsible for that? I don't think he does. Then I also think that Draymond, because he's such a good communicator, he's so in your face, and he doesn't pull any punches. I think that type of personality has the ability to make someone feel better, right? If Draymond wants you to forgive him and he wants to mend a relationship, I think he can do that very well, just given his personality, right? Because he can break it, and I think he can fix it. The question is, how bad does he want to? Does he feel scorned by the organization? Anyway, tonight I'm going to go live pregame for this on my Patreon and rap for about a half hour and dive deeper into my take on it. The question I want y'all to answer is, leave in the comments. And this is just for fun. And some of you know I've been talking with y'all on Patreon about this, is if this thing blows up in the next week or so, and you can just see it on the court, it's not, they're in their feelings and it's not going to work. Would you try to trade Kevin Durant? We've all heard the quotes, the unanimous quotes. There's no way he's coming back now, right? It's broken. And then people trying to say that he was saying out loud, they're lip reading that, that's why I'm out. That's why I'm out, right? So let's say all of this stuff is leading to this and it's getting ugly. Losing streak. They're scowling at each other. They're not playing hard. Do you call Boston and say, hey, Danny, you could get KD right now? Because let's be honest, Boston isn't performing the way they thought. This just doesn't work, right? Do you call Boston and try to flip KD out there right now? I know he can't be traded right now on this date, but I think sometime in December he's eligible to be traded. Do you call New York? Do you call the Wizards, who are a mess, and say, hey, man, y'all want a shot at KD? Because I know not many teams, what you say, and you notice I didn't bring up the Clippers because I don't think the Clippers are going to play the game of waiting, just like they are with Kawhi. But some of these other teams, Danny Ainge is a wild boy. The Knicks, what do they got to lose, right? And Washington, they're a fire right now anyway. So, maybe they would risk it. So leave your comments. What would you do it? If it starts to get ugly here in the next 2 weeks, would you try to flip KD right now? Or do you hold on to these guys and just hope to get this championship and then risk him just walking for nothing? Anyway, let me know what you think. If you haven't already, hit the like, hit the share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.